Welcome to Lawyer Business Advantage. This podcast is dedicated to helping attorneys earn more money, get better clients, and spend more time with family. I'm your host, Alay Yajnik, founder of Law Firm Success Group. Smart business guidance for small law firms begins in 3, 2, 1. And it's my pleasure to welcome to Lawyer Business Advantage, Mary Blackiston, owner of Nomad Copywriting. Mary, how are you doing today?
Awesome. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have a chat. We don't often dive into marketing stuff in this level of depth that we're going to do today. So just share with our audience of attorneys, what is copywriting actually in terms of the whole marketing process?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, in simple terms, copywriting is writing like you speak. So forgetting all the grammar rules that you learned in school, just speaking like an actual, human. Um, and copywriting differs from content, and that content is like, maybe uh, content like YouTube videos or blog content. Content is designed to nurture, maybe build a connection with your audience. It helps with SEO, all of that. Whereas copy is, designed to get the person to take action. So the copywriting process, at least my process, as a conversion copywriter, I always start with a good deal of research.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry, Mary, to jump in, but let's back up a little bit.
yeah,
What
for
is
sure.
a conversion copywriter? Like, how does that differ from another copywriter?
Yeah, good question as well. So a conversion copywriter is focused on getting the person to take immediate action. So let's say you see, you land on a website or a landing page from Google Ads or Facebook ad or wherever, and the copy is trying to get you to fill out the form, to call in. That would be conversion copy. Obviously, conversion copy is more than that. It's based on voice of customer research, which I'll talk about in a little bit, persuasion techniques, so using a bit of psychology, to get the person to take action or motivate them to take action. And not just any person, but the right person. So, obviously not every single person is going to be a good fit for your product or service, but the right person should be the one to fill out that form.
Yeah, and
Um,
I expect a lot of people that are listening to this are thinking, wow, does my marketing agency have a conversion copywriter? Like, do they all use one? So tell us a little bit about how this niche, how popular this is in the industry, how oftentimes agencies use someone like yourself, or what you're doing somewhat new.
Yeah. I think it's become more popular. So I went through all my training with Copy Hackers, which is the company that like coined the term conversion copywriting. And so nowadays there are a lot of people who call themselves conversion copywriters. And, I think really it involves like anyone can really call themselves a copywriter, I guess, but to really be good at it, you really need to invest the time and everything into the training, and learning about everything from psychology, how to do research, and because it is a process from getting from point A to point B, and the I'm sorry, could just kind of forget all that. Um,
Let's just pause
sorry,
for a second, and then we'll start again. You doing
sorry,
okay?
if you cut that. Yeah, just got like fumbled on my words a bit. But if you could just repeat the question, because I think I got a little bit off track.
Uh, sure. Yeah. I was like,
Sorry about
what was the question exactly? Because we're just chatting.
that.
Okay.
Sorry
Yeah,
about
I have
that.
the
You were
question.
asking, I
So
think, how big the market is or something for
yeah,
conversion
yeah,
copy.
I remember the question. So, to the editor, cut out the last bit. We'll just start again, but not from the top. Um, yeah. So, Mary, one of the questions I have for you is, how common is it that marketing agencies that work with law firms actually use conversion copywriters? Is that something that everyone uses, or is this kind of a new thing?
Hmm, got it. I don't think it is super common, at least from what I've seen. It it seems like a lot of maybe some law firms hire content writers to also write the copy, or they, if it's a smaller business, a smaller law firm, maybe they write the copy themselves, or they have someone else on their team do it. But I haven't seen many law firms with conversion copy on their website, and that's been a huge, it's definitely a missed opportunity because when people are landing on your site, if you're optimizing for SEO, that's great. You have a lot of traffic coming to your site, but is that traffic converting into leads, and not only leads, but qualified leads? Are they becoming clients? And so that's where the conversion copywriting is super important. Whether you're running a Google Ads campaign or you're just optimizing for SEO or doing all of the above, that's super important to make sure your website is optimized
Well,
for conversions.
I'm really glad we're having this conversation because there's a lot of tension between how lawyers write and what needs to be written to get people to take action. Like you mentioned,
Mhm.
conversion copywriting. I often see
Exactly.
this
Yeah.
when I first started. I was helping out my clients with their websites and stuff and writing, web pages for them. I don't do any of that stuff anymore, but it was always funny. Like I would write this web page that was written sort of to the audience, and the attorney client would come in and rewrite it so it worked. It
Mm.
sounded great from a lawyer point of view. The problem is, what sounds great from a lawyer point of view is often terrible from an audience point of view, and it's not
Right.
really useful to get them to take action. So
Right.
when you're working with an attorney client, how do you sort of overcome that issue where they may have strong opinions about how it should be written,
Mhm.
but their opinions aren't going to work?
Yeah, so that's always a bit tricky, because normally I try to work with clients who are open to the way that to copywriting and writing this and the conversion copywriting process and all that. So I haven't experienced too much pushback. Of course, there are always some things that we don't want to say this, or this is a bit strong, or tweaking the voice and stuff like that. But to get the best results, if the client is like really wants to bring in leads, wants to get conversions, then it's best to follow my process. If, on the other hand, it's more important for them to stay aligned with a certain tone or voice than to get conversions, then, absolutely we could go a more conservative route, but like I said, to get the best results, definitely need to have an open mind
Sure.
and be okay with standing out, because the more that you try to follow what all other law firms are doing, all their websites are doing, um, it's not likely that you're going to get the best results that
Right, because
way.
you're going to
So
sound and look like everybody else. Absolutely.
yeah.
Um, that's an excellent point. One of the questions I had for you, this is really where the rubber meets the road, is let's talk a little bit. Can you define for our audience, what a conversion is? Because they may not be familiar with that. And then the second
Mhm.
question for you is what kind of results or improvements could a client expect if they worked with a conversion copywriter like yourself?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, conversion is any, action that the person takes. So like filling out the form, basically becoming a lead, or, client or anything basically. So in most cases, we're defining a conversion as, when someone fills out the form, um, or picks up the phone and calls your law firm. But that's, unless you have call tracking and everything set up, that's harder to measure. But yeah, in simple terms, basically just a form fill. Um, and it could also be, clicks from Google Ads, and if you're running ads, like how are people converting from the ads to your landing page and your landing page to the form. So does that answer your question or?
It really does, yeah. And what types of results can a client expect if they were to hire a conversion copywriter versus a traditional approach where they do it themselves, or maybe they
Mhm.
have a marketing agency that's doing some copy for them?
Yeah. So, with to give you an idea, I mean, obviously it's going to depend on the client, and you know, it's hard to give an answer to that question. But I will say, with one of my previous clients, I worked with another law firm, and he came to me after the ads were currently converting, or the landing page is currently converting at around like 5% or so. And so he wanted to improve that conversion rate. So he hired me to revamp the copy. We didn't even do a ton of research. I did a little bit, but not as much as I would have liked to have done, but we still got amazing results. After I revamped the copy, we brought in a conversion rate of like 15%, so it's 300% increase in conversions. And that was, the first landing page was written by another copywriter, but they weren't a conversion copywriter. So after he hired me, the conversion rate increased dramatically. So that's one example. And another example of a client that I was working with, a civil rights lawyer, and he helps women who have been sexually harassed by their landlords. So with that, we were able to devote a significant amount of time to the research, which really was a big reason why we got such amazing results. This landing page from the Google Ads campaign that we were running converted at 12.45% over 45 weeks. So we got really amazing results. And not only that, but the leads that were coming in were really high quality. My client, I mean, they were high quality in the sense that, not all of them have been sexually harassed by their landlord, but they all were super eager to hire my client, to the point where he said that they actually felt betrayed when he didn't take on their case. And that in large part, was because of the messaging. And my client as well said the same thing. We also confirmed that I like to run a thank you page survey on the landing pages. And one of the questions that I asked was, why did you choose our law firm in particular? And some of the answers to that question were, people responded with like feeling understood after researching your firm online. After searching on Google, the message on your homepage made me feel like I made the right choice. Thought you seemed like you would fight for me. Researched others and you explained exactly how I felt. Everything you stated in this ad is exactly what I'm dealing with, 10,000%. You know what I've been through. You might as well be describing the hell I went through and I'm still in. So, those are all the reasons why people chose my client's firm. And as you can see, it's all to do with the messaging. So for the most part, for many people at least. So yeah, that's really the difference that the research and the conversion copywriting process can make.
Wow, that is really cool. I want to jump into like how you got into this field and what your superpower is for doing this. But before we do that, wanted a quick thank you to the sponsor of our podcast, Counsel CPA. So what they do is they provide back office operations for law firms, managing accounting, bookkeeping, accounts receivables, trust accounts, all of that stuff. And they're great at troubleshooting Clio as well. So if you are owning a law firm, you want to improve your back office operations, give Counsel CPAs a call, counselcpas.com. So, Mary, how did you get into this?
How did they get into copywriting?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I've been working in marketing for about 8 years or so, or just over 8 years now. I started out working for a digital marketing agency as, doing more content marketing. So, blog posts and marketing strategies and things like that. And then I transitioned. I kind of, dabbled a little bit in copywriting when I was working at the agency. I realized I really liked it. And then I decided to go all in and become a freelance copywriter. So I invested a lot of time and money into training, like I had mentioned earlier, copy school, reading a lot of different psychology books and marketing books. And yeah, then the rest is history. I've been freelance copywriting for the last just over 4 years now. So
And do you work directly with clients, or do you partner up with like marketing agencies as their conversion copywriter, and then they connect you
hmm.
with clients?
Yeah, so I also have some partners that I work with on particularly with Google Ads because I'm not super techy and I don't claim to be. So my specialty is with when it comes to paid ads is analyzing the data that we get and making decisions based on that data, and leading the campaigns and all that. And then I have some partners who help out with the implementation side of things, and getting the ads up and running and helping to optimize them and all of that.
And in your experience working with law firms, are there specific practice areas that could benefit more from conversion copywriting than others because the clients are more inclined to maybe take
Mm.
action right away?
Yeah, I would say particularly if you're speaking to, somebody who's in a more vulnerable state, so like personal injury lawyers, mass tort, civil rights. I would say those are the ones that I've seen can benefit the most. For example, like a corporate lawyer, I'm not sure would benefit as much from my services. Um, could be wrong, but I think there'd be more opportunity for the ones that I mentioned earlier. So,
Got it.
speaking to someone who's in a more vulnerable state, who is really in urgent need of a solution. And also if the way that you like, if you're a law firm who relies mostly on referrals, then maybe you don't really have much of a need for copywriting if that's the way that you get in, if that's the way that you get leads. Whereas if you're really dependent on SEO or paid ads or just or social media or however you bring in leads and clients is more dependent on you, then I think that's where the conversion copywriting is also more important.
Got it. And tell us a little bit about your process because it sounds like it's a little bit unique from others. There's research involved.
Yes. Yeah, so I always love talking about that. So before starting any project, I really have to dedicate at least 10 hours to research, and that's I'll explain more about that, but how in depth we can go depends on like the client's budget and timeline, but it will generally involve all or some of the following. So interviews with my clients. So I like to interview at least like 3 to 5 of their clients, listening to call recordings, if that's possible, email exchanges as well, if that's possible. I know that, that's not always possible with every client, but digging through online forums and groups where they hang out online, checking out their testimonials and testimonials from competitors, uh, as well as, some competitor research, sending a survey to their email list if they have one. Um, so all of that before I start writing a single line of copy. Um, so from after the research is done, I will analyze everything, look for trends and sticky voice of customer. So like, words and phrases that really stand out and that I've and everything that I've all the research that I've done and things that I can use in the copy. And then I pull everything together into buyer persona and brand messaging docs. And then once that is done, then I start crafting the copy. So the research is really important because it helps me to crawl inside the prospect's heads so I can, craft copy that's going to have them nodding their heads as they're reading and thinking, wow, this lawyer really gets me. So that's the kind of reaction that we want as people are reading.
That is so cool, Mary. When you were doing all that research, I was thinking to what end and just going through, a typical content generation process that I've done. It's, sitting down and working through it and never even thought to do all of this research that you're doing. That must really improve the quality of the copy. Like I can see how that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's definitely a time intensive process, and very labor intensive, but it's always worth it in the end.
Awesome. Well, Mary, what are some of the things you're looking forward to in your business?
Well, I really have enjoyed working with law firms, so I'm excited about working with more law firms in 2025. Especially the ones that I mentioned earlier, mass torts, civil rights, personal injury lawyers. That's yeah, kind of what I've really enjoyed doing in the last year or two. So excited to do more of that and yeah, see see where things take me from there.
Awesome. And if people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so I my website is www.nomadcopywriting.io, and my email is mary@nomadcopywriting.io, and then I'm also on LinkedIn, so you can always find me there.
Awesome. Mary, thank you so much for being on Lawyer Business Advantage today.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Awesome. Shout out again to our sponsor, Council CPAs. Mary, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
And That's a wrap for this episode of the Lawyer Business Advantage podcast. One thing that would really help both us and other new potential listeners is for you to rate this show and leave a comment in iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you tune in to listen. And I want to hear from you, so connect with me on LinkedIn and let me know what you think of this episode. And if you are a solo or an owner of a small law firm and you're looking to earn more money, attract better clients, or reduce your stress, we would love to talk with you to see how we can help. Request your free law firm assessment by visiting lawfirmsuccessgroup.com. Again, that URL is lawfirmsuccessgroup.com. We look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you for listening. My name is Alay Yajnik. Until next time, remember, you can seize freedom, you can embrace happiness, you can build your perfect practice.